The Code 3. A live podcast sponsored by the Marin Fire History Group. All about the history of the fire service in Marin County, California. And now your host, retired Fire Chief Paul Smith.
Okay, we're at Kentfield this afternoon talking with Brian and Ralph McLaren again. And they were both involved in the 1972 fire in Kent Woodlands. And they're going to briefly tell us, what they remember from that day.
So we were driving up northbound on the 101 in my wonderful 1956 Chevy pickup. And we get to the hill about where Cost Plus Market is today, and we looked west and saw a plume coming up from the direction of our parents' house. That was enough for Brian and I to say, "Hey, we're heading home right now." Yeah,
because nobody was there. Mom and Dad were gone, and the house was empty, and we could see there was a fire coming up the ridge.
Mm-hmm.
So we drove up to Crown and Goodhill, where the fire department had closed the road, because that's where the fire was. So Ralph parked the pickup someplace over on Crown, out of the way.
Yeah.
And then we ran up the hill to what would have been close to the Henderson's house. There was a spot below our house, which was a little further north on Goodhill. And we went up through the bushes there, got to the fence. And it was a 8-foot fence. It was a wire fence that we put in to keep the deer out.
Okay.
So we both get to this fence, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get over it. It was what our next challenge was. And then all of a sudden, Bill Morris was on the other side of the fence.
And he was the firefighter.
He was a firefighter. He was, back then, Bill Morris was one of the paid guys.
Right.
He was a paid firefighter.
Now, were you guys volunteers?
Not yet.
Okay.
This was just before that.
Okay.
And so Bill Morris throws an 1.5-inch line over the fence, tells us to grab onto it. And then he literally just hand over hand hoisted both of us over the fence as we held onto the line, because we had access to the house. We told him it was our house. And so we got up there, and that's when we saw the OES in the driveway. And I was one of these guys back then taking photography. So I shot a lot of pictures.
You had your camera with you.
I had my camera. So all the pictures from that fire they were in fact, my recollection is they were all black and white.
yeah, they are blunt.
They're all black and white pictures. Those pictures were there. And then, so we had access to the house. And then we also started helping the firemen.
Right.
The house above my mom and dad's was the Menace house.
Right.
And Stuart Menace
Was head of firemen's.
He was chairman of the board of Firemen's Fund
Yeah.
Insurance.
Oh, okay.
And his house had a shake roof on it.
Okay.
And the fire went up over mom and dad's house at 700 Goodhill and caught the roof on fire
At
at
680.
680, because it was right at the top of the ridge.
Right.
Yeah,
And
and Bob Mariani, I was with Bob Mariani, and Bob says, "Okay, there might be people in here. We need to search this house." So for the first time ever, I got on my hands and knees and started going through the house with him. Fortunately, nobody was there.
Was the roof on fire, Ralph?
Yeah.
At this
Yes,
The roof was on fire. I remember that too.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
But the structure wasn't fully involved. It was contained to the roof area.
just the roof.
But,
So they
but we
tore-
also,
They tore the roof off. Just
Bob and I, saw some historic photos of Menace he was a general in World War II, and he said, we decided, well, we better take some of these out of the house. There was another photo of him with President Nixon at the time. So we tried salvage for it, and thank God the house didn't go all the way.
Didn't burn out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
By lucky circumstance, were your folks away for the weekend? Or?
I forget where
I
Mom
think
and
they were out of the country
Dad might have been out
because Uncle Bob came up. Uncle Bob McLaren came up. He was there towards the middle part of the fire. He got up there. He heard what was going on, or somebody from the fire department contacted him, and he was there, and he helped at that point. He was helping us because we were 17, 18 years old at the time, and his experience in the fire department, he knew everybody, and so he knew what was going on. So Uncle Bob came up.
He was a Larkspur volunteer.
He was a Larkspur volunteer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he lived, at that time, he lived on Lucas Avenue behind the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a good introduction to the fire service. And I think that's why shortly thereafter, Brian joined the volunteers.
What it was I turned 18 about 2 weeks later.
Okay.
And so once I turned 18, I joined.
Yeah, good for you.
And that's where I met Jim Moore. I met Jim on that fire. And Jim and I have been great friends ever since.
And Jim is doing, or has done, provided me with a synopsis of the fire and his words on what he experienced that day as well. And we'll include it in this article.
Yeah.
And the photos that Brian
took.
And
I got some stuff from the IJ.
Yeah, there is one great photo that Brian took down from up there, shooting down towards Phoenix Lake with an old SBD World War II torpedo bomber dropping fire retardant in there.
Good morning, Jim.
Man, Paul, it's good to see you again.
Yep, absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, how you started with Kentfield?
I started with the Kentfield Fire Department actually very early on. That is to say, I grew up here. My family moved to Kentfield in 1963. And 6 months after that, I stepped outside at Kent School in December and saw the College of Marin gym fully engulfed in fire, and the fire department starting to respond. I saw people that I knew from around town, my neighbors, people that worked in the stores, just the mailman, just people I knew showing up and putting on their gear and putting the fire out. And I knew at the age of 8 that was something I wanted to be a part of.
Really?
It took me a while to, I had to wait a few years to grow up to be old enough. But, when I did turn 17, a couple of these same people, my neighbors, gave me an application and said I should join the fire department, fill out the application. And
you became a volunteer.
I did.
That was what, 1973 about?
72.
All right, cool.
1972.
And you were still in high school?
I was still in high school.
All right.
I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
And
cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience? Our topic today is the 1972 Kent Woodlands blaze. And I understand you were one of the first firefighters on the scene.
Well, not necessarily one of the first, but I'll tell you what.
Let's go ahead and frame that.
Yeah, let's frame that. I'm coming at this from the standpoint, I'm looking at this through the lens of a 17-year-old kid. This was my first fire, first time I'd ever seen a lot of the things that happened that day, and I have a lot of memories of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that my role was particularly important, but I saw a lot of things, and over the years, some of it has started to make more sense, and I learned some lessons, some of which I'll share today, which are still applicable today.
Okay.
So I joined the fire department a few months before. I'd been to a few drills. I thought I knew a few things.
Mm-hmm.
That particular day was an October day. It was late in the season. It was very windy, and I recognized that right away. I was out trying to make some photographs, and I was having some trouble with that because of the wind. I heard I was down at Kent School and heard the alarm go off, so I ran up to the fire station. At that point, the standard response for a brush fire was the old Squad 1, a 1-ton Dodge.
Okay.
Went out with an officer in a paid van. Engine 1 would roll with some volunteers.
Okay.
And then the next engine out would be the OES, CD90.
Okay.
I was at the station in time to make the engine, the CD90.
All right.
Now, that was Frank Zeta was the engineer that day.
Okay.
Malcolm Dryden was on that engine. Mike Lennon and myself,
Okay.
all volunteer engine company.
All right.
And I didn't know much about the fire until we actually started heading up Good Hill Road. And I realized that because of the wind, this was going to be something a little different. I'd never been to a fire before where structures had burned or where, big areas of wildland were threatened or anything like that. So we, and the OS 90 engine was a good old rig, but it was slow. 6-cylinder engine. So we took our time getting up the hill. And by that time, a couple of things had happened. When Squad 1 pulled up to the origin of the fire, which was at 611 Good Hill, fairly near the top of the hill, they pulled a live line on it, and they came very close to actually getting ahead of the fire.
Knocking the fire down. But their line burst, and the wind conditions being what they were, they lost it. So the next step was to send engine 1 up into one of the houses above it to provide structural protection. By that time, it was a cedar shake roof, and the roof had already caught fire. And which house was this?
That would be the Menist house.
Okay.
At the top of Good Hill Road.
Yep. 690 right in there.
Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we were directed to go to the next house down, 700 Good Hill Road, which was the McLaren house.
Okay.
So we picked up the hydrant on the way in. And as we pulled into the driveway, the fire was just coming up to the top of the hill and was starting to move against the McLaren house. Now, we pulled the live line, we knocked the fire down, and it was, it was a close call. Fortunately for that house, the only real damage to it was the window screens were melted, and I think the paint was singed. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later.
And this is the McLaren house?
The McLaren house.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the very top, 700 Good Hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, our actual firefighting duties were satisfied pretty quickly. And that was the top of the hill. But then, obviously, a couple of things about this location. One was that it was at the top of the hill. It bordered on the Marin Municipal Water District wildland.
Right.
And all the Mount Tan watershed.
Right.
The houses themselves were fairly large houses, expensive houses, built on large lots. So they weren't packed that closely together. And of course, on the other side of the hill going down was the town of Ross.
Right. That's the Phoenix Lake drainage.
Correct. And then Lagunitas Road all down below that. So a lot of stuff going on. It was the first time I'd ever seen a mutual aid response of that size.
Okay.
There were engines from everywhere. We did have a response from the county. They showed up with what I learned to be 2 high pressures and a tanker, which was their standard wildland response. Very, very interesting approach to firefighting and very effective. They also brought a bulldozer. I'd never seen a D6 work a fire before.
Okay.
That was actually one of the most amazing things about that fire, because I'm not sure who the operator was that day. I think it was Johnny Costa, but they started at the top, up by McLaren's house, and took that bulldozer down a steep hill. And
they headed down towards Phoenix Lake?
And that's where they stopped. That's where the line stopped.
Okay.
I don't know how they did it. It was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen. And it would.
Let me ask you this, Jim. Were there any aircraft used in 1972 on this fire?
First time I'd ever seen that. And the aircraft, it was a single engine, I think it was a World War II fighter, an F6F or something like that.
Okay.
And they made one pass. I think they might have had 100 gallons or something. But it was so windy, they weren't very effective. No. I mean, unlike these days when you get 747s and DC-10s showing up, the VLATs, he was in and out, and he was actually lucky to make it out alive himself. It was
Not windy.
yeah, it was that windy, and they didn't ask for any more because it was just it just wasn't safe.
Yeah, too precarious situation.
Yeah, but it was the first time I'd ever seen aircraft use on fire. There was issues there, but I think a lot of those have been sorted out. There are some things. Well, the hazard still remains. I mean, I still, when I I drive up to the top of Crown Road or Good Hill, I look at the fuel load up there. It ends up being all about the weather, and this area has really been blessed. I mean, it's been lucky that we haven't had more incidents than we have, and I've seen some of these in other areas around the state.
We've been fortunate.
Yeah, we have.
Well, I'd like to thank Jim Moore today for participating in this review of the 1972 Kent Woodlands Blaze. And Jim, it was great to have you here. I really appreciate your candor and your really good interview. And we'll see you down the road.
It's good. Feels good to be here, Paul.
Good. Well, from Marin Fire History, we're signing off, and everybody stay safe out there.